Serious problems.
Right, Mika, what's your scariest problem, mate?
I've got two scariest problems. The scariest problem number one is that you just fucking forbid me to say I'm tired is a scariest problem. Like, mate, I'm just fucking tired all the time. Why can that not be my scariest problem? That's my thing, you know?
Mate, that is my scariest problem. Is your every second scariest problem is just I'm tired of the train. Like, right, you have to find a scariest problem that's a little bit more original than that, mate.
Right, but I've got a second scariest problem, and that's like it's not so long ago that I said on the podcast I'm never going back to Livigno. Guess where Mika is?
Yeah.
Back in Livigno.
Yeah,
Good times. How's life in Treesil?
life in Treesil is not so bad. Yeah, it's actually a bit shit, to be honest. I was just thinking that's like the standard answer you say. No, it's fucking shit weather, and it's raining every day, and it's dark and a bit miserable. But we have some good atmosphere on the team, and we've got Muzzy here, Andrew Musgrave, to join us on the episode.
Boys, it's an honor to be back. Biggest fan of the pod. Back on for my second and a half time. So pretty pleased with this.
Yeah, it's not going to be as good as the Christmas episode we had together, but we'll try to make it at least close to as good.
Hopefully,
Remember
Mika's
when we
not
did
going to infect us all with COVID this time.
Yeah, fuck. Last time we recorded the podcast, us three,
in Livigno.
We all got COVID because of you, Mika, little trader.
Yeah, good time. But like the thing is, I just had so much fun on that COVID trip that I was like, oh, I just want to spread the love around. I don't want to be like this egoistic, self-centric idiot that's not letting my closest friends enjoying the fun as well.
Yeah, fair
sharing.
enough.
Yes.
Right, we said this episode we're going to do a bit about training, what we've kind of done this autumn. I think we've all trained in quite a bit different ways. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to hear a bit the different ways we train.
Yeah, lots of people were actually super curious about it, and they asked us stuff. So we thought we record a podcast about it with the one and only Strava influencer, Muzzy. But before we dive deeper into training, how's your shape, boys? You're training hard in Treesil right now. How's it going?
Oh, I think I thought I was in good shape, but then suddenly I was not in good shape at all and started being a bit fucked last week. So I had to take a few days off, and I think better now. But I think it's just also kind of like the blues of it's raining, I have to go roller skiing outside, and it gets so fucking slow in the autumn on roller skis in Lillehammer because there's all sorts of shit on the road, and it's wet and cold, and then it's just the sessions are just way harder. So I think it was just a bit too much. What about you, Muzzy?
Well, I can confirm that Jimmy has been in prime shape until he went on this little smell last week. Because when we went Torsby on the last camp, Jimmy was an absolute tank. He was smashing us all at everything. So if he gets himself off this little smell, then he's going to be good this winter.
Yeah,
but that's the thing with Jimmy. When he's in shape, there's always a 99.9% chance that he's gonna fuck it up before the season. So.
Nah, we'll see. Time will tell. I've got I believe in myself, so all good. What about you, Mika? How's the shape?
I think quite good. Yeah, I've been training actually super well. I've been training a bit mixed in Rams. I had some super good weeks and then some bit less good weeks. Done a fuck ton of stuff besides training, which is not ideal if you want to train a fuck ton. And then actually last week at altitude in Ramsau, thought fuck, I might be a little bit on the smell myself, but then just woke up and my dad called me, or I called my dad, and it was like, oh, maybe you should just stop being a bitch now and just start training properly. And then I trained fucking hard last week and felt quite good on sessions. Did intervals with Kasper Herland, Einar Hedegaard, some other Norwegians today in Livigno, and I actually felt super chill all the time. And so I think actually maybe my shape's not so bad.
Yeah, I sent a message to Einar Hedegaard, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, mate. Sounds like it was a bit of a dick measuring contest. Who's got the longest?" And he was like, "Oh, definitely Mika." So, good news, Mika.
Oh, but he's just he's just talking himself down because as of now, I'm not sure that his ski brand change paid off so well because he had the slowest skis ever under his feet that he got dropped in every interval. In the second to last interval, he changed with this guy from Trondheim. And then all of a sudden he was just like taking leads in the front and keeping up and skiing super well. Last intervals, he went back to his own skis and he got dropped after like 150 meters again.
But him and Vestad are both on the same brand, so he hopefully just needs to do a bit of work to find the right skis.
Yeah.
But
also,
it's a little bit unfortunate for them if they've all got smaller dicks than you, because that means everybody has very small dicks.
That is a good point, yeah.
We actually, when we ask people what we should do to professionalize our podcast and how to make the podcast better, there's actually one guy that sent a message. He was, talk less about your willies.
We're not doing a very good job then today.
That is like one of the main points that attract people to this podcast. I feel like that's like so much talk about how small Mika's penis is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mate, you're not going to win a fucking award for having the world's longest penis either, mate.
But anyway, you were saying, I wanted to ask you about this. Like, you've been doing lots of other stuff. You boys, how do you have time to do everything? You guys are just starting like a multimedia empire. It's like the new family Murdoch. You got like vlogs, you got the podcast, got all sorts on the go.
Yeah, Mika sorts the vlogs, I sort the podcast, and then we've got some guys helping us for like a bit of the Instagram and like, but it's just all fun, mate. All fun games.
It's all fun. But actually, I'm not doing anything with the vlogs but filming. But Jan Neuhold, he's doing all the editing and stuff.
Legend.
Yeah.
But we just decided, okay, we're probably not gonna get rich by skiing, so maybe we should find something else. And we just didn't manage to come up with a better idea than Skier's Problem. So that's where we are now.
And you guys are getting rich from this?
No, not at all. But at least we're having fun. It's not working so much better than skiing. I think it's working a lot worse than skiing, but we'll still have fun, and that's the most important, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the most important, whatever you do. Yeah. Although
having fun and
having money is probably the most fun.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's also, since we're talking about having fun and training, I was talking to Edwin Ingebrigtsen today. He's one of the Norwegians that also joined intervals today. And he was coming up to me and started telling me all sorts about his training. Like, that guy's training fucking wild. He does like a 4 or 5 day cycle. I didn't get it entirely, but I think he said something like he starts off on the first day with like a double LT1 session, so like intervals in the morning, intervals in the afternoon. Second day he does like a double threshold session, intervals in the morning, intervals in the afternoon. And then on the third day he does like a level 4 session to get some more intervals in. And then on the fourth day he chills,
smashes volume probably.
Yeah, probably. Or if he fucked on then, because he does like 6 intervals every week, and then he also trains like 110 hours a month in the summer.
So I'm
like, what tank?
That's quite a bit.
This sounds quite a lot like Andreas Fjorden and Magnus Stensås's training, the way they do it, and they do like a 5-day cycle like that, and they're absolute tanks. And he manages to like smash it, or like on the days he's doing LT1 and threshold, he manages to like fit in a bit of volume as well, just like sits on the bike and gets a bit of extra hours on the rollers and stuff. Like, I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but like it's definitely LT1-ish the first day, and then threshold day 2, and then a level 4-5 thing day 3, and then day 4 volume, and then a recovery day 5th day.
LT1,
But-
just for those who don't know what LT1 is, it's basically the top of your zone 1, which is like low intensity training, but it's just at the top. So before your lactate starts climbing, not exponentially, but it climbs quite steep straight after that. So it's like around 1.1 to 1.5 millimoles of lactate.
Depends also a
It's
bit
not what I
on
would
people
say.
individually.
Okay,
Yeah.
give us your definition of LT1 then, Muzzy.
I would say 2.0 lactate, top of level 2. It's like top of level 1 if you use a 3-zone system.
For if zone 3 is what?
Everyone uses.
But-
There's always different
That's
discussions
the
about
thing
who
with
does what.
yeah.
Yeah, but
That's the thing with
anyway, the
zones,
way I
like,
understand it,
Zones don't really matter because
yeah, go for it.
I was just gonna say zones don't really matter because honestly, like you've got people using 4 zones, 3 zones, 5 zones, and then like everyone that's using like 5 zones has like their own definition of what zone 2 or level 2 is. And people have all sorts of their own definitions, which zone contains what kind of intensity. So it's like, it's so individual.
Yeah, that's
Definitely.
true. But anyway, it's not quite as hard as threshold session, but it's harder than just easy training. So just to define a bit what LT1 is.
The thing is also when you're super well trained and you've done a lot of these like L2 or LT1 sessions, whatever you want to call them, the speed you go at that intensity gets quite high because you get the threshold of this LT1 quite a bit up. So actually doing LT1 is like low intensity, but it's actually quite a high effort if you're well trained. It's not like you're chilling around doing a bit of semi-hard skiing. It's actually going just under level 3 pace.
Yeah. But yeah, Mika, give us a bit the rundown then, what you've been focusing a bit this autumn on, and yeah, what's the key things that you've been doing?
But that's always the thing. What's the key thing, and where do you start? Like, basically, I haven't really changed anything from like the last 2-3 years, maybe. The only thing I've changed this year, I'm doing a bit more of level 4. So that's above threshold, like let's say like 3-4 minute intervals, stuff like that. Yeah, just to work a bit on the VO2 max and especially work a bit on the technique and basically race pace, because honestly, like those sessions you can go pretty much at like a 10, maybe 20k race pace, and yeah, you don't get super fucked from it, so you can actually work quite well technically and just get used to the speed that you're actually racing on. So that's a session I try to do. I'm not going to say every week, but at least every 2 weeks, probably every 10 days. And then like when I have a good block, I try to do it every week. And then I usually do it like 6 times, or no, rather 8 times, like 3.5 minutes, or 10 times 4 minutes. I've done 10 times 4 minutes is quite hard already.
Yeah.
I've done that a bit more in the spring. And then around that, I just basically do like old school cross country skiing training. I do 2 to 3 threshold intervals a week. Train around 90 to 105 hours a month. But the months where I'm over 100 hours are very few. It's maybe like 2 or 3 months a year. So the most are like around, I don't know, 95 maybe.
Plus strength on top of that.
The strength on top of that, yeah. I don't count gym as fucking training hours, because just laying in a gym and doing a bit like this, that's not training.
We've had this discussion before on the podcast.
That was why I was asking.
Yeah.
But I understand that it's like...
Yeah, it's not aerobic training. Right?
Or, yeah, but everybody just counts things their own way, and it makes it difficult to compare, but you've just kind of got to keep doing what you've always done.
I can give you a rundown a bit what I've done this autumn, what I've focused on. So last year I did a lot of volume and a lot of intensity. So this year I focused a bit more on
Maybe tell the people how much volume and how much intensity you were doing.
Yeah, I did in October. I did 135 hours, I think, of training, and then I did 21 hard sessions. So I was in 1 week was more volume based, so there was like only 3 hard sessions, and then 1 week was more intensity based, and there was 6 hard sessions. And the volume week was like 30 plus hours, 33, 4, I can't remember. And then the one with the intensity was like 26, maybe 27. But this year I've kind of focused a bit more on the high intensity sessions. So I've done 3 to 6 hard sessions a week, lots of double intervals, mostly double intervals actually, with threshold in the morning. And I've added some like kind of speed intervals. So like prologue type intervals, like 10 times 1 minute with 2-3 minute breaks, and like 10 times 3 times 10 times 30 stuff like that. Kind of add a bit of sprint training in there. Done a lot more speed as well, but that's the main thing. Try to focus a bit more on the intensity this year.
Just because
Or
I'm
this autumn.
curious, why are you doing like the 30-30 sessions and not like lots of people these days? I think the Austrian sprinters like Benny Mosa, they do like 30 15s and stuff. Why did you choose to like do 30-30 over that, or is there no specific reason? Is it just feeling?
Or I don't think there's a huge difference between doing 30 and 30-30 and 30-15. I think if you're doing 30-30, then it's a little bit more anaerobic than 30-15. If you do 30-15, it's going to be a bit more like of a distance session by the end of it. I think the goal was that I've been a bit worse in prologues last couple of years, so just wanted to focus a bit more on like getting that high intensity and anaerobic work. So hopefully it helps.
You've been doing something good, as I was saying earlier. But I've got my own theory as to why Jimmy has been good. Are you going to tell
Yeah,
people what
I've
it is?
been training quite a bit on the treadmill. There's this in the Lama. There's like you can have a membership at this place run by. It's actually the athletes Vetle Sjåstad Christensen and Johannes Dale who have set up this like roller ski gym kind of thing, where there's a skate treadmill and a classic treadmill. So once a week I'd do my intervals, level 3 or level 4 would be doing like these 6 times 8 minutes with a difference of speed, so that you do like a bit over the zone you want to do and a bit under, so then you kind of get more work at a higher VO2 usage with less impact on your body, is the theory. And so I've done quite a lot of these. I've done at least one skate and one classic every week almost for the last like 3 months.
And my theory as to why Jimmy has got good doing these is that then he knows what speed and incline he needs to go at to be at like a correct lactate. Because before you go out with Jimmy and he's doing intervals, it's like, oh yeah, I'm at level 3. Like if the first few years when Jimmy came training with us, that we had a level 3 session once in Holmenkollen. He's like, I'm at level 3, and then in Stardime measures his lactate and it's like 13.5, and he's like, no, that can't be right, that can't be right. And so then we do the next interval, and he comes back in and he's starting to look a little bit tired, and they take another lactate and it's like 14 this time. He's like, maybe it was right. And then the next interval he's like 10 minutes behind.
This is true, but this was also like 10 years ago.
But like Jimmy has still had a little bit this in him. So my theory is that just him having this like standard session he does on the treadmill regularly, where he definitely doesn't go too hard, that's good for Jimmy.
That's true, but I think that's kind
honestly,
of a thing.
I don't think it's. Go on.
Yeah, I think we're gonna say the same thing. Like honestly, I don't think it's like that I'm a fafo or something. It's just that when you're like a very anaerobic person, you just don't feel the effort, you don't feel the lactate like you guys do. It's like if you just push a little bit too hard, then you just like lactate just goes like up the roof.
Jimmy's just got no feelings, no emotions.
No emotions. Psychopath.
You and me are emotional guys and can really feel it.
Yeah. Were you gonna say something different, Mika? Or
yeah, I was gonna say something different, but also have to add on what you just said when you said, "Oh, I don't think I'm a faffer." Mate, you're definitely a faffer. That's where we begin.
To be fair, in comparison to Jimmy, like 10 years ago, you can't even compare. He used to be such a faffer. Right, Jimmy's first World Championships. We get to the stadium before the race, and Jimmy is absolutely stressing and running around like, oh my God, he's lost his ski boot. Oh no, it was before we left.
So we were about to leave to go to the race, to the World Champ race. And I was running through the apartment. I could not find my boots. And then in the end, we had to leave without my boots. And I was, oh, fuck. And we were like having lunch. And then I was like, where the fuck did I put my boots? And I realized they were in my backpack, but in this like pocket that I never used, like this boot pocket. So I had them with me the whole time.
Once we were staying in Livigno and we went to do intervals on the roller ski track in Bormio, which is like a 45-minute drive away. And we turn up and Jimmy's got his boots, but he's not got the liners for boots, so he's just got the carbon shell. And so he starts doing intervals with his feet just stuffed in the carbon shell of the boot. It was unbelievable.
I was so annoyed at myself.
All the people, I was
so annoyed at
not
myself, so I
knowing what these carbon shells are. It's like, you fucking know the difference between shoes with inner boots and shoes that are just carbon shells.
Imagine putting like alpine ski boots without the liner. It's kind of the same thing. I did is I took the like how do you call it, like the liner of the like a running shoe.
Oh, the insole.
Yeah, insole of a running shoe. I took 2 insoles and I put them one on top of the other, and then tightened it a fuckload, and then it worked. It was very uncomfortable, but I did manage to do my intervals, and I had quite a good session.
Or he claimed afterwards he had a good session so as to not feel like such a vapor, but he was a massive vapor.
Again, this was many years ago, and I've evolved since then.
I was agreeing. I'm saying you used to be a vapor, and now you're a little bit less of a vapor.
I also like how
KOT that comes along, who makes you seem like a bit of a less of a vapor.
That's true.
I also like how good we are in keeping this serious training podcast, mainly about training, and we're just talking about old stories of Jimmy forgetting his boots.
Yeah, but that's way more fun.
I agree 100%. But still, going back to the topic, and we were talking about roller ski treadmills and intervals on treadmills. I think that's for speaking actually for every cross-country skier, I think it's a game changer if you just get some kind of control into your training and like standard speed, just measurable progress, I think. So you get actually confronted with what you're doing all the time. Like, of course, you can take like lap times on a roller ski track, but sometimes it's wet, sometimes it's dry, sometimes it's warm, sometimes the wind blows. So conditions do matter. And on a roller ski treadmill, you just take a path around all the variable factors. So I think that doing treadmills regularly on a standardized profile is, or maybe not even purely a regulated profile, but like a regulated environment, controlled environment. I think that's a game changer.
And
I was going to say, I think Muzzy has his own treadmill, and he's done a shit ton of testing on the treadmill. So I think it's a good transition to talk a bit about what you've done this autumn, Muzzy. And
yeah, just before we go on to that, one more thing I would say about doing treadmills is that if you're doing constant speed, constant incline, it makes lactate testing a little bit more relevant as well. Sure. Because I often feel I don't test so much lactate outside on the roller ski track because it's difficult to know. Maybe you're skiing around on a track and you've got 1.5 in lactate, and then you finish off up one hill, and then you manage to produce lactate just in this one hill. And so when you've not got a constant work rate, it's not all, you've got a bit of a sort of judgment to make. You get a number, but is it from the whole interval, or just from one part? But if you're doing a constant incline, constant speed, then it's a little bit more.
I think skiing is so uncontrollable and has so many variables that it does help to have a bit of control in it.
Yeah. Talking about you, Muzzy, and your training regime, actually one thing I'd be quite curious about, because you posted on Strava all the time. When you do these intervals on your treadmill, you do like your standard sessions is what, like 6 by 8 minutes, and then you start with 2 minutes of constant speed, and then you do like what 40-60s, I think it is.
Yeah, so 2 minutes sort of threshold-ish speed, and then 64 after that. 60 low speed under threshold, and then 40 above. And this what are you gonna say?
When you talk about threshold, are you talking about like pure proper threshold, like a speed that you could actually maintain for just an hour when you go full gas in a race? Or are you talking more about like the level 3 threshold speed that people refer to in
Probably
Norway
more
quite often?
LT2, so like 4
Yeah.
lactate. But where I got this from is I've had a lot of help from in my training the last 3-4 years from the guys at the lab in Lillehammer, so Joad Hansen and Benteren and stuff. And it's kind of an interval session that they've designed because they've done a lot of research about different intervals you can do to try and keep your VO2 as high as possible, or get as much time with your VO2 max over 90%, or with your VO2 over 90% of your max, and as much time as possible there. And they've done a couple of different things they've looked at, and one of the things is 2 minutes slightly harder at the start and then dropping the speed down afterwards, and you still keep your VO2 higher. And also, if you do these 40-second bursts and then drop that down for a minute, that you also keep your VO2 high. So these 8-minute intervals just mean that you can keep your VO2 high without the effort actually being all that much. And then I just super like them. I do them all the time, running, double pole-in, classic. And I just think that if you're doing intervals on the treadmill, it's so unbelievably boring. And if you've just got all this stuff happening all the time where you're like increasing the speed, decreasing the speed, then it just makes like 8 minutes go so much quicker.
That's true. Yeah.
If you're going to
But,
do like
do you-
8 minutes. On you go.
Now I was just gonna ask, do you then program it on like this the Ski Sense app, or do you just push like all the buttons manually all the time?
I either get someone to come and push the buttons for me, or I push the buttons myself, because like apps for like steering or treadmill, they're so crap, or I haven't found any constructive ones that work. I'm trying to program.
Oh, the Ski Sense app's working super well actually. I've tried it with my treadmill.
Oh yeah? Oh mate, you might be making my life so much better now. But I kind of like just pressing the buttons as well.
You get a 2-second break every time. Yeah.
Or when I do it, or if I'm doing classic, then I don't get breaks. Then I just press the button like that while I'm still doing a diagonal. But all my standard double pole-in intervals, then I'm just like absolute dying at the end of the 40-second ones, and I get like grab on for like 2 seconds while I'm pressing the button. Oh, I'm gonna have to get this app now.
But from what I've seen when you do these sessions, or when you post them on Strava at least, that like the difference between your over threshold and under threshold is like fucking minimal. It's like it's like you do them at 22 double polling at 5%, 22 kilometers per hour. You're like
3%.
top
Mate,
speed.
if I was doing, yeah,
3%. Sorry, not 5%. 3% at 22 your top speed, and then like 20 is already like the rest speed. But that's not such a big difference. How hard is it to actually maintain that session? Because I'd fucking die if I just go over my threshold all the time and then under it.
So I've got to say that I started off doing these. So I've been in the lab in Lillehammer quite a few times, and then I've done a session where I've tested a little bit how it's easiest to maintain a high O2, whether it's going faster on the 40 seconds and slower on the 60, or a little bit more even speed and less of a difference between them. And for me, it was doing less of a difference between them was the best way to keep a higher VO2 or a higher O2 VO2. Yeah, VO2.
Yeah.
But so I started off doing these sessions as a sort of, they'd be like their level 4 session when I started off doing them, when you're trying to keep your VO2 over 90%. But then I just really like the sessions. So then, like a lot of the double pole intervals I do, I use the same protocol, but I don't go as hard. And so a lot of the double pole intervals I do as a second session at home, and they're more like a level 2-3 session. And I also have a standard profile that I do where I build up the speed and use the same 2 minutes 60-40, but I use it as a profile, and I increase the speed throughout the session. So it's not all just over under threshold, but it's kind of the easiest way to describe it if you telling
Yeah.
people.
But actually, if people want to hear more about the session, because it's possible to do it on the running treadmill, I think it's super good on running treadmill. Then just write it in the comments, and we'll send you a DM with the whole details of how it's set up.
Or go and look on my
So-
Strava and follow me on Strava, because
Yeah.
I'm going to become world famous on Strava. I'm going to beat Pogacar with the most followers.
Right. Tell us then about your training then, Muzzy. What have you been focusing on this autumn? Because when you look at the Strava, it's like you see each individual session, but you don't see like the global trend. So give us a bit of a rundown, mate.
Okay, so I like to have a 5-day cycle similar to what we were talking about with Fjorden and Ingebrigtsen earlier. And then I do like 4 days of training, rest day, 4 days of training, rest day, or a recovery day, I call it, because usually I'll do maybe max 2 hours of training on those days. And then I'll change what's within those 4 days depending a little bit on when in the year it is. But usually it'll be first day, 2 interval sessions, second day, volume, third day, a bit of speed and strength, and then fourth day, intervals again, either double interval or one longer interval, and then a bit of volume session in the second session. And then it depends when in the year what I'm doing. So usually summer, a little bit more focus on longer intervals. And then in the autumn now, it's been a little bit more level 4 focus or more threshold and trying every 5-day block to get in one level 4 session. So we're doing a bit of work over threshold, but nothing too fancy, nothing too advanced. I do a ton of stuff on the treadmill because I've got my own one, and I think it's dead good.
Yeah.
And I'm super good if I go outside and I'm going to do like a level 3 session. I just really good at going slow and kind of not being able to push myself. And like I'm old and have like my heart is like there's something wrong with it. So I always get like 120 average when I'm like going as hard. I feel like I'm going really hard doing intervals, and then I work out afterwards. I've just been faffing and not going fast at all.
Yeah, Muzzy just went in the camp in Treasil now, and he was just doing intervals yesterday. So we did a sprint session in the morning, and I was doing level 3 intervals in the afternoon. What was your max heart rate? 141?
Yeah.
That's actually insane.
But it was
That is
because we
wild.
thought it was going to be the last day on snow because the snow was like melting so rapidly, and we didn't think they were going to piece again. So I wanted to do a session just working at a bit high speed, trying to work on the technique. So it ended up being an LT1 or LT. I didn't measure lactate, but I'm guessing it was around about LT1 sort of work rate. And then I was probably a little bit tired from the session in the morning, so it didn't go so fast. But it was just trying to work technically and get a bit of time going at a decent speed on the skis. So
Yeah.
then when you're old and a bit shagged and done too much training like I have, then your heart rate just never goes up.
Yeah.
But what's this thing with like everybody doing 2 hearts, or not everybody, but lots of people doing double heart session days these days? Because like I think when you look 10 years ago in skiing, probably in other sports neither, very few, probably no people almost were doing that. Whereas if you look now, it's like almost everybody's doing it.
This is funny though, because this is like nobody used to do it apart from when I was on team Leasplan. I joined the team in 2013. We had Johanna Oila as a coach, Swedish coach. She's now TV expert in Sweden, and she made a training camp plan once with like 2 intervals, and we were like, "Whoa, 2 intervals, 1 day! What is this?" And Anders Södergren was on the team at this point in time, and he was like, "What are you guys on about? He's done tons of this." And so like I think like back in the days in Sweden, this was a normal thing, but it's just like the last 10 years, nobody in like Norway or the rest of Scandinavia has done it. But like Södergren, he didn't think this was revolutionary at all. I feel like training's always like that, just kind of goes in cycles.
Goes in trends.
Yeah. But then if you look at the Norwegian team, for example, I think especially in the national team, the trend probably from whenever Sundby's been good, like what was that, 2014 until maybe now, this like maybe actually what's his face, Fjord Reyes, the guy to break the cycle. I felt that for such a long period, this like super conservative approach was becoming the standard and was getting more and more conservative to a point where they were basically just doing like level 3 sessions twice a week, and the rest was just easy volume. And yet they still were always by far the best skiers in the world.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I reckon the fact that Fjord and Ray's come in and like so many people started training, I think so many people have seen that they can train more, they can train harder. And I think it's going to push the level of skiing higher. I think like what he's done is absolutely awesome. He's a bit of a legend. I'm an absolute massive Fjord and Ray fan. But I also feel like you're exactly right that it's been super conservative in Norway, but they have the biggest pool of people, the biggest talents. And if you're a big talent, I feel like probably there's a lot of the big talents haven't maximized their potential, but they're so good anyway that you've just got to kind of not screw things up, and you're going to go fast rather than needing to push to your limit or be at. If you're at 98%, then you're still going to be world's best if you're a lot better than everybody else is initially. Yeah. But then also, I think probably there's a lot of the good guys that do more than like Petter Northug. He always used to try and pretend he did bugger all training, but I think you hear about some of the sessions and some of the stuff he did. I think he did some pretty hardcore stuff, and Hannes probably does the same.
I think it's like you said. I think it's also a bit low risk, low reward for them, and then some of the athletes that are like a little bit under that level go for more like high risk, high reward approach. And I think you have gone a bit more for a high risk, high reward approach the last few years, Muzzy.
Oh, not so much.
You do like all the I'm gonna say one thing that you've done that's like the most insane thing ever. So a few years ago, you decided it was a good idea. This was like in 2018, 2019, something like that. You decided it was a good idea to race in Golo, which is Norwegian Cup, instead of going to Ruka. And it was the week before Lillehammer World Cup. And then he was like, oh, I'm going to do the race, but I'm going to go for a 3-hour run fasted with a weight vest before the race. And I'm going to race on the 4th hour without eating. And he still beat me.
How'd that go for you?
which at the time was pretty shit. And then you had like a super shit result, which is understandable. But then a week later, you were 6th in Lillehammer, I think.
I can't even remember, but I was doing it not to race. I wasn't doing it to race fast because I wasn't stupid enough to think I was going to race fast doing that. But but you were doing it to race fast a week later. Yeah. So I wasn't doing it to race fast in Gola. I didn't think that 3 hours with a weight vest without food was a great.
Yeah.
Although, if you ask Andrew Young, he claims I told everyone I was going to win when I did the race. Oh, you went around telling everybody you were going to win. And I definitely did not.
But that is definitely a high risk, high reward.
Maybe.
Well, what's the reward?
But I think people.
But I mean, it was 6
what's the
week later, so
not?
it was 6 in Lillehammer the week later, so it must have.
No, I'm not sure it was that year.
It was definitely that year.
Okay.
I remember everyone was like, "How the fuck was he so good when a week before he was so shit in Golo?" And I was like, "Yeah." Sometimes results don't tell the whole story.
I feel like occasionally I do stuff like that, but I feel like in general people think maybe I train a little bit more extreme than I do. But I always feel like what I like about cross country skiing is trying to push myself, see what my limits are, and also new research, what sort of new training stuff is there, and like just doing like what I feel like is average training is boring and it doesn't excite me, and I wouldn't be motivated to do skiing if I felt like I was just doing the same stuff over and over again. And also I feel like if you're doing the same as everybody else, then it's just the person with the best genetics is going to win. You've got to try and do some other stuff. And then obviously there's other things that play a role, like your quality and matching the training to your body type and all that. But it's just 20 hours a week with 2 threshold sessions is really boring.
Valid point.
But I like that you're saying what I do is extreme, Mr. 21 sessions, 135 hours.
Yeah, look where that got me. That was a high risk, high reward, and I definitely didn't reap the high reward on that one.
Yeah, but mate, so you phrase it wrong. That's called like high risk, very low reward.
Yeah, correct. Minus negative reward.
negative reward. But I think, like, I
While
want
we're
to
on-
agree with you on the point where you're on the part where you're saying that if you're just gonna do the same than everybody else, then you're just not gonna be good, or then you're just gonna, like, the guy with the best genetics is gonna win. I agree to some extent, but then I also think it's not about doing the same as everybody else, but you can, like, try to take a system that's worked for the very best people ever and then just adjust it slightly towards your needs. I don't think that that's like doing the same as everybody else. That's just taking a plan that's already out there and make it fit for you without taking all the risk of doing like 135 hours with 21 hard sessions and then get absolutely fucked afterwards.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between. So I agree, but it's that works up to a certain level. I think I would say up to like top 30 or like as long as you're increasing, becoming better, like progressing. I think there's no point in like trying all this extra extreme stuff. But I feel like once you get to a level where your level isn't getting better, you're either being the same every year or maybe a little bit worse, then I think it's probably worth to try new things. And that was my theory last year, and I think I've learned a lot from it, so I don't regret it for sure.
I mean, if you're
I do
getting
agree with
worse,
what you say, Miki.
no, go for it.
No, I was going to say I do actually agree with what you say, that just doing something that works and tailoring it to your individual needs, it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing average training and doing the same as everybody else. And you can see that from the Norwegian guys' results the last 15 years. We were saying that a lot of them have done this not too extreme on any individual type of training, but they've still been the world's best for the last 15 years and absolute humped me in every championships. So there is something to be said for that.
And if I'm not completely wrong, then
But like
the time that they collectively started winning, so not with like just Petter or just I don't know, some other guy, but like collectively where they were able to do like 1 to 6 in a World Cup, I think that was under Trond Nystad. The coach in Norway from 2011 to 2015, I talked to him a lot, and one thing that he always says, training is basically risk management. So he takes like all these stuff that are like high risk. He says, just leave them away, put them out. Take all the stuff that's like high reward, low risk, put it in, and put as much of it in as possible. And I couldn't agree more on that. I think that's actually what I've been doing as well the last year, to just minimize the risk of failure and to just maximize the chance of profit on sessions that I do. And I feel that when you never get to a state where you're like fucked it, as in like you're really over it, like, okay, I'm so tired now, I'm so fucked from this session, I actually need to recover from this like more than 1 or 2 days, I actually need to recover for this for like a whole period of time. You can just build so long and you can build so much, and I think you just build a super stable base that's just insanely stable. That's what it is, and can be insanely successful if you look at the Norwegians. Because I think if you look at Amundsen now, for example, he's not known for training like 120 hours. He's basically known for training super conservative, and he's probably the second best skier on earth.
how do you know what's low risk, what's high risk? And then you said do as much of it as possible. And it's how much of stuff you do plays into how risky it is as well. So you've always got to have this balance between risk reward, and it's about optimizing it. And I feel like you can build a good program that's innovative without necessarily being too risky. And I don't necessarily feel like I take massive risks. I've done the occasional session where I've done some stuff like the weights vest, but what I feel like cross country is very slow at adapting to new research and new stuff that comes, and that it doesn't necessarily have to be a risk to do it.
But I think we're talking a bit past each other now, or I probably explained it wrong. I'm not talking about like single sessions, because honestly, if you get fucked one day and you'll have to chill for 1 or 2 days, I think that's okay. we're athletes and you're gonna do like that's stuff that happens, I'm gonna say. But I think it's more looking at a collective. If I look at my training, I'm not looking at one day, I'm looking at like a week or 2 weeks, and then I see, okay, I'm doing these sessions added to that volume. Is it logic that that's gonna work, or is this probably over it or under it? And if you stack as many of these like logical weeks on top of each other, I think that's where you make the biggest progress.
You look at block periodization research versus non-block periodization. I don't know if just doing the same stuff all the time in research has been shown to be the best, but it's like I said, there's different ways to train. And I think if you do stuff with good quality and you have enough of the right stuff, you can get good doing multiple different things.
I think I kind of, but I'm not sure if I agree. It's just that I think everything is so uncontrollable in cross-country skiing, so it's kind of difficult to, like, in theory, yeah, I completely agree with you, Mika, but like it's difficult to quantify stuff and have define the quality of like, okay, this is like we're going to make you really good and this is not worth it, and like kind of having to balance that. So I don't know, I kind of agree in the principle, but I think to summarize, I would say I think you can go a very long way with just doing simple training and not doing anything extreme, and you can get to top 30 doing that in World Cup, I reckon. And then if you want to go and push on other stuff, you might want to do that if you're stagnating for many years.
I think this is, you just said what to summarize. You summarize your
I-
own personal views.
Yeah, I
and that's
summarized
your
my
dogma.
views. That's what I said. I'm summarizing what I mean because I could hear myself talking. I was like, fuck, this is going to sound so confusing for people. So I'm summarizing what I'm saying. But I'm definitely not summarizing what you boys are saying.
Oh, I thought
you
I thought you were summarizing the entire chat we just had, which is why I was...
No, I was just summarizing what I meant because it was a bit of a jumble of thoughts.
I think all of what we've just said for the last 15 minutes is a jumble of thoughts, and nobody listening is going to make any sense of anything we have just said, so I apologize for the last 15 minutes of really boring talking.
It's good times. It's good times. But also, actually, no.
Have we got any gossip in cross-country skiing, mate?
Jimmy is obviously fallen over roller skiing because while we've been doing this podcast, he's been taking the scabs on his knees and ripping them off, and his knee is now bleeding all over the place.
That's a slight exaggeration, but yeah, I have crashed on roller skis. Devastating. But it's going to happen.
The one gossip is a realization. It's quite hard if you want to do a training podcast when you have 3 guys talking about training, and they basically, all the 3 of them do completely different stuff, and then we're just ending up talking half an hour over like, oh yeah, this session, that session, this system, that system, but I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me, we definitely don't agree with Jimmy. Good times.
That is what makes sport interesting, though. If there was just one recipe to get good, then it would be like we talked about earlier, just the best genetic person won. Whereas now there's different ways. You've got to find things that work for you. You've got to have your own views, your own ideas, train. And like that makes it much more exciting that it's so unpredictable.
Maybe
it's so
one thing we should do to end the podcast. Jimmy, you think of a little bit different way to pronounce what you just said before. Maybe we should all just summarize our training thoughts in like a 30-second sentence so that the people know, okay, this is what this guy thinks, this is what Muzzy thinks, this is what Jimmy thinks. Jimmy can start.
No, I will not start. I just summarized it. So you guys go first.
Right, Muzzy then.
All right, mine is have a system. I do this 4 or 5 days. I do this 5-day system, regular recovery days. So you always know you're getting a break, and as much time as possible at race-ish speeds.
Wait, but fuck, I agree with that.
I
don't agree with like the 4 or 5 day thing.
Because I'll tell you why. I started doing the 5-day cycle 3 or 4 years ago, and it is so unbelievably good. I used to barely ever have rest days, And now I know I can train an absolute ton and be super tired, but maximum I have until my next rest day is 4 days. And mentally, it makes it so much easier. And also the risk is reduced because you have so many days throughout the training year where you're doing less and allowing yourself time to recover. So I reckon you can push more in those 4 days because you have these regular recovery days.
But then your recovery day is not a full rest day, is it?
Occasionally, but not normally. Usually it'll either be a heat session or a strength session or max 2 hours easy, but usually like an hour and a half. But play it a little bit by ear. If I'm tired, I'll have a full rest day.
Yeah. Interesting. Right. Okay, so my take is just use the week, because I think a week has 7 days and a Sunday was invented for a reason. Train 6 days, rest 1 day, and actually rest on that day. And keep it stupid simple. But actually keeping it simple, that's a hard thing to do. It sounds super easy to keep it simple, but to actually keep it simple without just doing stupid stuff and being, okay, this is my plan is tough. Because if you do something that has consequences, react on those consequences, not just go stupid through everything and say, okay, I have a plan and I planned this out. No, if something happens today and that's going to affect my day tomorrow, then react tomorrow. React what you're doing. That's what I do.
Do you always do a 7-day cycle? Do you like have every week looks the same?
More or less. I do intervals on that depends, but usually on like Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. I have a rest day on a Monday because it's just convenient, because in the winter we also travel on Mondays.
Mika can't have a rest day on a Sunday, because if he did, then he would be out in Austria every Saturday night getting absolute hammered. There's so many good stories about Mika when he used to do Nordic combined and was not serious at all. Then every day was a rest day because he was out getting hammered every day.
But the thing is, when I was Nordic combined, I was actually a fucking tank, because I got hammered so much. Like, honestly, when I'm looking back now, and then I'm like, oh, I'm actually not the worst skier to have ever existed. And then I ask myself, how is that even possible by what I've done in my youth?
Your lungs have recovered from all those Marlboros you've been smoking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough times out there. But
Yeah.
we're still here. So
Right, I'll summarize my thoughts as well. I think you can go a really long way, and I think up to top 30 with just consistent, good quality training. And for me, that's like, I also kind of use a 7-day week of training cycle rather. And I would add 3 intervals, 2 of them level 3, 1 of them level 4, 1 long double pull, 1 long run, and some speed sessions. And if you do that well every week, and you have some weeks that are a bit harder and some weeks that are a bit easier, maybe like small, medium, big recovery, then you can get a very long way. And then once you get to a level that's high enough and you feel like you're not getting any better, then you can add heat sessions, double intervals, fasted sessions, stuff like that, I reckon.
Double
I agree with
intervals,
Jimmy
though.
as well.
Double intervals, though, don't need to be increasing the risk. I'm just going to put this out there. That for me, a double interval session can be a way of reducing risk as well. Say one day you want to do 90 minutes of intervals. You might be able to get better quality with the same or less load if you do 2 45-minute intervals, one in the morning, one in the evening, rather than doing one long 90-minute interval. And so I think a lot of the stuff I don't actually do that much more interval volume by doing double days than I would have previously. I'll just be able to get a little bit more quality over the same amount of time, because I do a lot of 6x8 intervals. I never used to do such short intervals before.
See, and this is where our opinions go like this. They part like this. Because I think, and this just, honestly, it's probably more feeling than an opinion. My feeling is rather get tired properly once a day. And I think, for me personally, I feel I'll get more out of that when instead of getting like semi-tired twice, I'd rather get properly tired once.
Yeah, but that's all this risk management. I think Muzzy's point was more that it's in the risk management side of things. if you push once hard, you're more likely to push over. Whereas if you push more controlled both times, then you're less likely to push over and get fucked. So in the risk management side of things, I think Muzzy's got a
Yeah,
good
but also
point
I
here.
wanna I have a different opinion about that as well, because I think risk management is also about how precise you are in training. If I'm gonna do 90-minute intervals and I'm gonna fuck you, Muzzy. Muzzy's just looking at me like an idiot.
Making faces.
Yeah. But if you're just, I think actually, when I listen to what I do and what you do, Jamie, I think both of us, we basically do a pretty similar system. We train pretty similar. And I'm gonna add this one thing in. I think I'm more precise in what I do in training.
Than me, yeah. I mean,
Because
we don't know
I'll
why.
never change session. I'll never do. You're very easy to convince to change sessions.
Yeah, but I mean, this is mate. How much have we trained together this year? This is a very much like prejudiced way of seeing things. I don't think you have any idea of exactly what I do. But if you want to think that you're better than me, go for it, mate.
No.
feel like-
This is not what we're going at, but we're going at like, what's the key differences in what you and me do? Because honestly, there's like a ton of differences in what you and I do and what Muzzy does, because Muzzy does something completely different than us. But I think
No,
what you and I do, it's quite similar. But
I think I'm more between you and Muzzy in what you guys. The difference it's just I don't have the same cycle as he does, but in terms of how the sessions look like,
I'm gonna say that in my ideal world, I would do this 5-day cycle the entire time, but I have to mix it up a little bit to make it fit in with when training camps and stuff are. And also, I like to have a little bit of flexibility so that sometimes I'll be like, now I just want to train on my own, do my own stuff. But at various points in time as well, you've got to try and train with people, because I think one of the biggest advantages of living in Trondheim is being able to do interval sessions with other good people. And so then I might mix up my cycle a little bit. So I might have the intervals on day 2 and 4 rather than 1 and 4. But then it's always a bit of a balance. How often do you do that to change your training? And so I think sometimes you do have to have a little bit of flexibility, and you can't be too strict. But in general, being strict, or in general, having a good system is probably the most important thing. But also having a little bit of flexibility in your system is good as well.
so flexible. I don't have so much flexibility.
But you were also talking about yourself. If you do standard intervals and you have signals, you have to be able to respond to signals about
Yes.
your training is going the way it's meant to be going. And if it's not, then you have to make adjustments.
right? We've been talking for well over an hour now, and we've slightly going in circles, and people are going to get very bored. So I think we should wrap this up, and we're going to ask Muzzy the question we always ask, and be good to have a different answer than last time. If you got one session with 2 people in one place, what do you do, mate?
Right. I'm just going to say, I'm a big fan of the pod, but you guys have to be stricter about this, because it is gone like, it started off as a training session and 2 people you're going to do your training session with. And then like Remy Lindholm just started talking about going in a sauna. That is not a training session. People have got to keep it to like training sessions. Otherwise, like the next guest is going to be like, oh yeah, my ideal session is going to the strip club with 2 strippers with double Ds. Oh. And so it's got to be, I think you guys have to keep it to a training session.
Yeah, fair enough. Right.
Although I did quite like that KOT wanted to go for a sauna with me and Laura Gimbler, which is very random.
Right. You give us the training session then, Muzzy.
Right. I think this is going to be the same as last time, but you can't beat the most ideal session. Spring, cross skiing, out with my 2 favorite podcast hosts in the world. You boys. Can't beat that. Bit of sunshine, long day on the skis, finish off with a couple of beers.
Bit of camping, maybe.
Bit of camping.
Maybe little nip of the whiskey as well. No.
Yeah.
Wee bit of whiskey.
But that can be arranged this spring. That's no problem.
Yeah.
Nice. Anything to add, Mika?
Nah. I just feel bad because I was trying to compare our trains, and then I wanted to point out a key difference, and then in retrospect I realized how fucking idiotic that sounded, and now I actually feel bad.
All good, mate. All good. No harm done. Right. Totally like and subscribe to the pod and share your love in the comments.
Also, if you're still here, tell us if you like this podcast or if this was absolute dog shit because we just went all over the place. I thought we would do like a fucking 30-minute thing, and now we're in like an hour 11, and we haven't talked about anything constructive at all.
We've gone in a lot of circles.
Yeah, but I think it might be interesting. We'll see. Tell us in the comments, right? Talk later. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Mate, I think we'd